A little boy stands in front of the gate of a big mansion. The night is dark. The mansion is dark. The door of the mansion creaks open. A hand comes out from inside. It grabs the child, pulls him into the house. The door of the mansion closes with a great noise. A mother runs out. She wants to get her child out of the house, but she fails. The mother's screams echo through the streets of Istanbul. This story starts in a splendid mansion. The Urianazade family was one of the most important and famous families of that time. Mother Sidika, father Jalaluddin. Jalaluddin is also a poet. He is one of the smartest people in the city. Cemil is born with the mother's pregnancy. After receiving an education at a madrasa, Cemil became known as Cemil Molla in his community. But he didn't just study at the madrasa. He learns English and French, which makes him popular with other smart people. The Urianazade family was not the only big family in Istanbul at that time. At the same time, Abu Bakr and his family from Beylerbeyi were also there. Abu Bakr had one daughter, Emine, the apple of the family's eye. Her father loves her very much. At a society meeting, Cemil and Emine meet and get to know each other. I don't know if we can call it love at first sight. After the families got together, they decided that the couple should get married. A wonderful wedding was held. Everyone in Istanbul is talking about the children of this two-family unit coming together. Cemil had married into a well-known family, so he decided to build a very big mansion in Istanbul. Cemil's grandfather was Sheikhul Islam, one of the most respected people of the period. His grandfather had a mansion in Kuzguncuk. Cemil asks his grandfather for permission to build a mansion right opposite his grandfather's mansion. With his grandfather's permission, he can start to build the mansion, but he cannot find an architect like the one he wants in the whole city. Cemil is very hopeful. He really wants to build an amazing building from that period, a work of architectural art. He even wanted to build a mansion similar to Yıldız Palace because he really liked it at the time. He wasn't impressed by any of the architects he met, so he had to wait for a while. Then he meets an Italian architect again at a meeting. This Italian architect is Signor Alberti. He tells Signor Alberti about the mansion and his ideas for the building. He tells him his ideas about the Yıldız Palace. Signor Alberti is an Italian who lived in the Ottoman Empire and likes Ottoman architecture. Cemil and Alberti start talking and work begins. It took 5 years to build the mansion. So why does it take so long? There is a bathing area inside the mansion. The stones are marble. They want these marbles to be hot all the time, so they don't want to step on cold stones. The electrical wiring is located under the marbles. At that time, this house was the only house with electric lighting and also the only house with central heating. There is the Yıldız Palace, and there is this one. It runs on diesel. There is an engine downstairs, which makes this house very different from all the other mansions built at that time. When you put all these features together, Cemil is very proud of his mansion. Cemil is a very respected and very wealthy person in the community. He speaks both English and French. There are many women who admire and love Cemil and want to marry him. News about the family is sent to them in many ways, but Cemil marries Emine. When the mansion is finished, Emine and Cemil move in. After they move to the mansion, it stops being just a house. At that time, Cemil was very close to Sultan Abdülhamit. All the families of Istanbul gathered in this mansion. Philosophy talks are held here. Chess is played. Abdülhamit comes and goes. There are poetry readings. This is not just a house. It's not just a place for meetings. It's also a center for intellectual discussion. But one day, the Committee of Union and Progress gets involved. Abdülhamit was removed from the throne, and Cemil Molla was sent into exile with his wife. Life in exile is a problem for a family that used to be rich. Cemil becomes ill. Emine gets depressed. She starts to withdraw. She stops talking to people. After a while, the story continues. there is a kind of amnesty. Cemil Molla and his wife go back to Istanbul. As soon as they return to Istanbul, they start to expect things to get a little better, but they actually get worse. Cemil Molla returns to work after some time. But of course, he doesn't have the same status in society as he used to. His wife, Emine, is never the same again. She becomes withdrawn, does not go out of the mansion, and lives an unhappy life. Cemil and his wife Emine are found dead in their mansion in 1941. After their death, the state seizes the mansion due to debts and curses begin to follow one after another. Years pass by. Hamit buys the mansion with his wife Aliye and their son İzzet. They move into the mansion. They are very happy to move to such a well-known and famous mansion in Istanbul. Very soon after the family moves into the house, they start to hear some noises from inside the house. There are footsteps coming from different floors that aren't being used. Closet doors opening and closing. The doors of the rooms open and close. They cannot understand it. One night, while Hamit and his wife were asleep, their son İzzet came running into their room, screaming. The child is upset because they have been crying. They get up straight away. "What happened, son?" They ask. İzzet says, "There's someone in my room." First they say it is a child. They don't take it seriously. Emine goes to look in his room. There is nobody in the room. She calms her son down. She goes back to bed. But this goes on like this. İzzet is worried and restless inside the house, and there are noises coming from the floor that is not being used. This goes on. One evening, while the family was having dinner downstairs, they heard running upstairs. Hamit asks the maid to go upstairs and check what is happening. The maid goes upstairs, feeling a bit uneasy. You can see the top floor from the bottom floor. While the family is eating at the dining table, they are suddenly startled by the scream of the maid. She falls from the top floor to the bottom floor and dies there. Aliye is worried about this. How can something like this happen? She looked up. How could she fall and die? But Hamit is very happy to be at home and doesn't want to give the house away. So he hides these things, and they continue their lives normally. After that, things just keep getting worse and worse. One night, Hamit is sleeping with his wife. While Aliye is asleep, she feels a breeze on her face. She wakes up paralyzed. She can't turn her head, move her hands, or scream. Above her face, she sees her son İzzet floating towards her. Aliye looks at her son in shock. Her son is flying above her. She can't move her neck or her arms. She looks to the side with her eyes. Is her husband with her? Does he see things the same way she does? Her husband is standing on the bed, looking at Aliye with a strange smile on his face. Aliye starts to cry. She wants to scream, but she can't. And then the bedroom door opens with a bang, and İzzet is pulled out of the room as if a hose had burst into the room. Then Aliye wakes up in bed as if she had been at the bottom of the sea and had come up. She wakes up. She gets up. She immediately turns to her husband. The man is sleeping next to her. She quickly leaves the room. She goes to her son's room. She sees her son standing in the corner, facing the wall. First, she stops for a moment. Then she runs to his son. She takes him by the shoulders, turns him round, and realizes that her son is in a trance. She shakes him and makes him come round. The boy seems to come to his senses and asks his mother what happened. At this moment, Aliye has a very bad feeling. She runs back to the bedroom with this feeling. She tries to wake her husband. She shakes him and sees Hamit's dead body. The story continues as follows. After losing her husband, Aliye doesn't want to stay in the mansion. She takes her son İzzet and moves to the outbuilding. While they are in the outbuilding, she also wants to move out of the mansion. She doesn't want to stay there anymore, but she stays in the outbuilding with her son until she finds a new house. She doesn't separate her son from her. She knows that something is wrong. While she is in the outbuilding with her son, the lights in the mansion go on and off at night. Some shadows move around inside as if someone is walking. The neighbors also say the same thing. It is clear that there is a problem in the mansion. One night, while Aliyah is sleeping with her son, she suddenly wakes up because of a noise. She looks around and sees that her son is not in bed. She rushes outside, extremely worried. She starts looking for her son in the garden. She calls out, but there is no sound. Then, like any other mother, she runs in panic towards the front of the mansion from the outbuilding. She is shocked by what she sees. Izet is standing in front of the mansion's door. He is turning his back on his mother. He is facing the door of the mansion. The door of the mansion is closed. Aliyah calls out, "Izet, my son Izet." There is no movement from Izet. He walks towards the mansion as if he is in a trance or sleepwalking, and the door of the mansion opens. There is a dark force that comes from inside. It grabs the child and pulls him into the mansion. The door closes with a bang. She runs to the front door. She hits the big door of the mansion. She tries to get inside. The door doesn't open at all. She shouts and cries. Izet is silent, and it's not clear who pulled the child inside the empty mansion. The woman feels uneasy. She takes a few steps back. She stretches from the door of the mansion. She lifts her head up. She sees her son standing outside the window on the top floor of the mansion. How would you feel if your son was about to jump out of a window? She is shouting. The boy doesn't hear her at all. Izet throws himself into the dark. Izet's body falls at Aliyah's feet. Aliyah leaves the mansion after her son dies, and no one ever hears from the poor mother again. This famous mansion has been empty for 40 years. We can see all the signs of time on the mansion. After 40 years, a building company buys the mansion. The family is well known in Istanbul. They say, "Let's fix this place and settle down." But there is a big problem with the builders. The workers say they can always hear noises from other floors, like doors and windows slamming. People are constantly leaving their jobs. There is a constant problem. The building work is almost finished. The restoration is not perfect, but it is finished. But the family is moving here. Soon after they moved in, father and son had an argument. They are actually partners in a construction company. They work well together. When they had an argument, they separated their businesses, and the business got worse. There are some other deaths and unhappiness in the family. The family gets rid of the mansion and leaves. After some time, the current owners bought the mansion. Today, the mansion belongs to one of Istanbul's well-known construction companies. But this company is a little smarter than the others. The restoration and renovation of the mansion was done to match the style of the time. The mansion still looks the same today as it did then, but nobody lives there. The owners of the construction company that bought it do not live in the mansion. You can only see the mansion if you walk past it. As I said, Cemil's family was very big at that time, and there were lots of girls who wanted to marry him. At that time, it is thought that the mother of a family who wanted to give her daughter to Cemil said, "Since he didn't choose my daughter," and put a spell on Cemil. After that, Cemil's house, which he had built with care and which he had dreamed of living happily in, was interrupted by exile. He could not enjoy it at all. When all these things came together, the beautiful mansion turned into a cursed mansion. Today the mansion is protected, but there are still rumors that you can hear screams coming from it at night.